So welcome, everybody, to Mind Shifters Radio, the second hour. And I'm walking up the steps as I speak, so apologies. So today is Monday, June the 20th, 2022, and our call-in number is 563-999-3581, and press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. And we'd love to hear your comments and questions, because that makes this your show. And I did speak with my tech in India again this morning, and he was asking him why the Google still had not updated, but he's said it has been submitted, and they're just, I guess, overloaded with people or something doing apps, and so it's taking a little longer than normal for them, but it has been approved for the by Apple for the iPhone. So if you haven't updated your app on your phone, or if you haven't downloaded it, it's Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness, totally free, totally private, and you can get it from either for the Android or the iPhone. And we hope you put that to work. And I want to say a thank you out to Doug for catching an error on the website. I got that corrected, and it was for a link for some of the Mindshifter archives. So if you find anything when you're scrolling around on the website and something's not working, please drop me a line, or if you've got my phone number, text me and let me know about it, and I'll get it fixed. So thank you for that, Doug. And still waiting on Michael to get signed in, and I'll just invite you to go to the website. There are several new things, and one of the things to make the announcement about is that this Thursday, information for that is either under events or schedules or flyers. You can find it several places, and it says Global Online Book Club. And that has been awesome. A young lady in the UK started this book club several years ago. And they had just, she had gotten the Why Is This Happening to Me Again book. And she said she had never been directed or given the inspiration to contact the author, but she did contact Michael. So he's been on there for several times since, I guess the first time was March the 10th. And we're doing that twice a month, the second and the fourth Thursday of every month. And you can pick up those recordings on our website as well. So if you go to like schedules and you see Global Online Book Club and you click it, it will give you the Zoom link, the meeting and passcode to join us. And scroll down just a little bit, and I've been putting updates. She's given us the links for each of it. She records it. And so each of the meetings, and there's been a couple of them where where Michael has walked someone, Yinka, or one of the participants through doing a worksheet. And so it's more like a workshop, and they're not reading the book or going through it page by page or anything like that. So it's different than a lot of book clubs, and it's awesome. So join us for that. There's also the monthly Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing. We do that the second Saturday of each month, and then it's followed by the Tuesday afterwards. We do a support meeting to go over any questions or processing that happened since the breathing. So we invite you to join us for that too. Michael's doing several podcasts, and he actually a couple weeks ago did a 3-hour Why Is This Happening to Me Again. You can access that. It is it's also under schedules. I just left it out there because it was an easy place to find it. It's also on our YouTube channel, and so that's free to download and watch. So there's lots of things going on, and we would like for you to join us. The more the merrier. You know, we can't go through this alone. We all need support, and these things are being offered just like the radio show 5 days a week to give you support. But you have to ask. We don't read minds. We haven't gotten that way yet. So I see Michael's on now, so I'll welcome Michael.
And sometimes we do get a little bit lucky, and we can read a mind, and we can tap in and support each other on a whole other level than what the culture has taught us when we realize that we are energetic beings. You know, one of the foundations of this work is a statement made by Albert Einstein where he says, On such things as matter, we have been all wrong. What we have heretofore called matter is energy, energy whose vibrations become so low as to be perceptible to the senses. There is no matter. So realizing that we are energetic beings, what we engage in energetically in every endeavor of our lives gives us an opportunity to do one of two things. We can engage in something in the world, have it impact us and drag us into its energetic pattern, or we can engage in the same thing and choose to make hay of it. I think it was, let's see, who was it? They called it grist for the mill. That if you were going to do your work, it would take interaction that would give us the opportunity to work through and to move through things. So engaging those things that resonate, fear, rage, guilt, grief, drama, and trauma, can leave us to appear to be victims of fear, guilt, grief, drama, and trauma, or can open the space for that which needs processed within to become the grist for the mill, to become the subject of the work, the next piece of work that I do. Sometimes, usually we'll watch nature videos in the evenings, but sometimes we'll watch something that has some drama or trauma to it. And of course, we stay conscious of what's happening with our breath as we do that. And oftentimes, the last thing either Jeannie will say to me or I will say to Jeannie is, and let's join in asking Ruka to assist us as we sleep in processing whatever was resonated by this particular event that we observed. And so we have opportunities to engage in the frequency of life through music. You look at discordant, and you look at the word chord there as it relates to music, discordant music, disintegrative energy, or there's that which enlivens rather than tears down. Being choosy about the music and the words in the music that you engage in. It's a powerful opening of the human energy field to listen to music. And people who are listening to destructive lyrics, violent lyrics, abusive lyrics, tend to move in the direction, if they're not doing their work, of playing out those instructions given. It's a powerful way to open this energy field and put thoughts into the field. I know we were listening to a piece of music yesterday and came on America's Got Talent, and it was something I probably hadn't heard in 50 years, and I could repeat it verbatim. What we engage in, what the culture's engaging in the way of music is very powerful. The people we hang out with are energetic beings. There's an old saying that says, if you sleep with dogs, you get fleas. And there's definitely some truth to that. If we engage in interaction with people who live in a destructive, disintegrative way, language, thoughts, behaviors, engaging in those as energetic patterns can impact literally the whole resonance of your energy field. And so from the point of the perspective of energy and frequency, the understanding of quantum physics says that these energetic dynamics create, through resonance, an impact. And there's an interesting science, we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, if you haven't looked it up, just jump on YouTube and put in the word cymatics, CYMATICS, and just watch what simple vibration can do in terms of physiology. You know, there's several videos you can pick up on and watch, and you know, just by beating a drum or dragging a resistant piece of cloth across a certain surface, the energy created sets up and organizes patterns that are just amazing. And when you realize that, pardon me, our thoughts, our frequencies, those frequencies organize, think about organic structure, become organic, and then when we speak them, we create a whole other level of frequency influence. So being aware of what you speak. And if thoughts are tied into the energy that one would refer to as disintegrative relative to the energy field, if the words tie into disintegrative energy, and that doesn't mean you ignore everything that's going on in the world. That doesn't mean you don't speak to and hold accountable what power is doing, if power is out of alignment or someone in your life is doing. It just means that you're careful that you maintain the connectedness and the awareness of the truth of who you are as the frequency, the energy, the vibration of active love. And to cultivate thoughts and related emotions and words that support that. And everything that your eyes fall upon are frequencies. Make sure that if you allow your eyes to fall upon, if you engage in the disintegrative in the world, that if it resonates disintegrative energy in you, you utilize the tools of forgiveness to process through that and to free yourself of those things. And so everything we engage in is definitely a frequency, definitely an energy. And they've done a lot of research showing that one of the most powerful healing frequencies is that of gratitude, of just being in appreciation for what we have. I know that for me, in fact, I said this to Jeannie last night. We were out working in the garden and got kind of grody, so I went and jumped in the shower and just thinking about all of the ancestors that didn't have water, or, Jeannie mentioned, when we were kids, wood stove, and we heated water on the stove, and, she got to be one of the last ones in the tub in order to get a bath. And now we think nothing of just walking over and turning on a faucet and jumping in and having the opportunity to have a hot shower. What an awesome thing that is when you think of the bulk of humanity that has ever lived hasn't had that privilege. Like, wow. So many things. While there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on that, yes, we need to pay attention to, and yes, we need to address, and yes, we need to keep our own vibration clean in regard to those things. At the same time, that bringing forward gratitude is a powerful thing to remember. In fact, I think it was maybe Mr. Eckhart, I think, that said if the only prayer you ever said was thank you, that would be enough. Of course, we know that prayer is not putting your order into the cosmic gift catalog, having the understanding that the Aramaic language brought to prayer, that prayer, and it's a frequency device. Prayer in Aramaic is, the words would be more properly translated rather than tell God what God should be doing for you today. The words would be properly translated. set a trap for God, that you do the work it takes. You become the frequency space that literally captures and reflects active love in the world. That's what prayer means. It's got nothing to do with the Greeks have turned that one around to you tell God what God should be doing today. As opposed to, if you listen to the ancient teachings, they say, in this energy field called love, which has been called the Creator, we live, move, and have our being. And as such, we are designed, as human beings, physiologically, our energy pattern is specifically designed to capture, as an antenna captures, and that's what it means to set a trap for God. It's like an antenna captures channel 2 and reflects on the television screen as a perfect picture. We're designed to capture the active presence of love in which we live, move, and have our being and reflect it into the world. And we've been brainwashed to do something else other than that. And so gratitude's a powerful way to bring more of that alignment. And, of course, the whole body of work that we've been talking about for the last 11 years, 5 days a week on this show, is about how to align yourself with the active presence of love and how to literally forgive, how to literally remove the frequencies that perhaps have come to you genetically, perhaps have come to you from your environment, perhaps have come from your own life experiences, to remove those frequencies that are not in alignment with the truth of who you are, to really be able to face, confront, and move through them, and apply forgiveness, which means removal. It has nothing to do with letting other people off the hook, because there's a particular energy moving inside of one. And to remember that what I'm feeling, in order for me to feel it, has to be moving inside of me. We look at something out there and we say, oh, look at what that has done to me, and we totally avoid the fact that the only way that that can do anything to me is if I have a matching frequency, and that energy starts to move in me, and that's the only thing that creates the experience of emotions and feeling, the sensation of feeling in us. And so if we're feeling something, it's because that energy's in us, and it's the opportunity. If it's a frequency that we choose and realize is not supporting life, it's the opportunity to learn forgiveness. And, of course, you can go to our website, whyagain.org, and you can access hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of information about first century Aramaic forgiveness. It is the most profound technology you'll ever find. It has nothing to do with the Greeks told us that we should blame somebody else and let them off the hook for what's happening inside of us, but to recognize that what's happening inside of us is always changeable, whatever the frequency is. So you can do the worksheet process. There's a step-by-step reality management worksheet, the wake-up sheet that you can put to work right on the website. You can print it off on your printer at home, so you can do it in writing. And or you can go to your app store on your phone and type in the words Heartland, Heartland, Aramaic, Aramaic, forgiveness. You'll be looking at the world's only forgiveness app. Profoundly, profoundly powerful and useful. So put it to work, share it with others. In the meantime, the purpose of our show is to interact with you and to hear what's going on in your world and see if we can bring support forward, or perhaps hear the question that you offer us that opens a whole new area of understanding and study for us as well. So it's here to be an interactive process, and we're delighted to be sharing this space with you. Miss Jeannie, do we have anybody in the phone queue with a hand up, or anything happening in the chat room?
We do have a hand up, and I believe it's Miss Susan 610. You're on the air.
Hi, guys.
Welcome, young lady.
Hi, everybody. Oh, good, you can hear. Well, Michael, I've got two-tiered, and I love what you're saying. Every word is like water on a desert. It's been very useful, and my basic question will come in a minute, but I wanted to make a report. It seems as if after doing all those worksheets every day, boiled down to one massive worksheet of forgiving the world for being not as I want it to be. Whatever it happens to be, it's if I'm not feeling good, it's something isn't the way I want it to be, and so I'm constantly working on just forgiving the world for presenting things in a certain way that might not be so great. And that I'll get to the specific now, which is my grandson, Jacob.
Well, before you get
Yes.
to the specific, can I make an offering?
Yeah.
I would suggest you never forgive. I'd suggest you never forgive the world or anybody or anything ever for anything.
Okay.
But if something's moving in you, and that movement is a response to something happening in your world, apply forgiveness to that which is moving in you to remove it. Nobody needs to be forgiven. Nobody will ever be forgiven, in the sense that most of the world has been taught to think of forgiveness as, I've been forgiven by God. No, nobody's ever going to be forgiven by God. I've been forgiven by my father or my mother, or I've forgiven my father. That's all a totally false conversation. If I have hate or fear or rage or sadness or grief or loss moving in me, I apply forgiveness to that to shift that frequency, that vibration in me, not to that person that shows that to me or resonates that in me. So the shift in that definition is a tough one to make, because we've been so imbued with this idea of course it's the world's fault, so therefore I'll forgive the world. The world needs forgiveness for nothing. But if the world is the object of attention that I have for my sadness or my loss or my grief or my rage or whatever it is, then I apply forgiveness using that as the subject of the forgiveness process, but I apply the forgiveness to that which is moving in me that needs to be removed. So it's the removal of that energy in me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I'm actually doing that. I didn't word it right, but it ends up being that I'm like that rose that followed after something and got uprooted and didn't stay rooted in God. So I get back rooted
there you
in
go.
the soil. And
Yay.
That's been the image that I've been picturing, is I got out of my grounding and I have to get back to my grounding. Whatever the issues are out there, they're interchangeable and they'll never end. But I stay rooted, and if I stay rooted, then the healing takes place. I'm saying this not having achieved it today, because I've just had one of the most scary interchanges with my grandson, because I realize he is definitely mentally ill. It isn't just a matter of belligerence and selfishness, but the belligerence and selfishness come from what appears to be he's gone beyond the pale. We had a situation where he was obviously on something the other night, and our agreement was, whatever money we give you, it doesn't go for that. We want you to be clean. And he insists, I'm not using your money for that. But then we come to realize we're giving him $150 a week for his expenses in New York City. And he runs through it pretty fast and is asking for more food money. And he's insisting that he's not spending our money on pot and booze, and probably it may be even cocaine. His brother told us that he's been taking cocaine, and he insists he's not, and we're invited to believe him and trust him. But And so we had a discussion this morning about how we're going to withdraw all allowance so that he'll have to use his savings for whatever he needs for the time being until this business gets sorted out. And the ugliness that came out of that, swearing at us, calling us all kinds of horrible names, and audacity, saying you went back on your word. He badmouthed us to his whole school program there, and they all think we're just horrible people for pulling out the rug from under him. And I never said an unkind word. I kept saying, Jacob, we love you so much. We're trying to do the right thing for you. And he said, well, if you don't pay me food money, I'm going to quit this program and come back and live with you. And I said, you can't come back here under those conditions. You just cannot. Now, this, to me, is like the tough love they used to talk about. And he's saying, what? I can't come back. What am I going to do? Okay, I'll get a job. And I say, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Get up, go to school. We'll sort this out. Don't be rash. He gets to school, and it's just ugly, and it's ongoing. And I have pages of texts that I've made, screenshots of, to testify the fact that we're not on level ground. I'm not working with a person who is influenced in any way by the fact that I keep a loving space to him, open, loving presence to him. It's like it's not translating. And so I'm just thinking, how do I go from here? I am upset, and that's a bad sign. I haven't done my work enough because I'm really upset about this. I have not mistreated him because I'm upset, although he thinks we have. So I'm listening to you, and I'm thinking you're talking about a world where people are basically sort of healthy. And I've run up against this whole other thing going on where we're not, it doesn't translate. Can you say something about all that?
Sure. Yeah, there's what's, of course, going on inside of you for you, and I want to acknowledge you because I think you sound, in the context of hearing that he's doing cocaine and in that context, and the fact that he's being so verbally abusive after all the support you've given him, I think you are beautifully balanced in what you're saying and what you're doing. I think that's an awesome state of balance and speaks to the work you've done, because if you were going through this 3 years ago, I don't think this would be your demeanor or your vibration. It wouldn't be your energy 3 years ago if this whole circumstance were happening, would it?
I think that's true, Michael. It's like it came just in time. I was going to need this. I took it, and then, boy, oh boy, there it is. We need it. We're putting it all to the test.
Right.
And I'm still just in a practical way, not sure what to do next.
Well, one of the suggestions I have is there are several different food programs that you can buy online and without giving him money so that he can go squander it on drugs and say, I need more money for food, send him a box of food each week. I'm not remembering. There's one service that we had, and we were spending $30 to $40 a week to get a fair-sized box. We could select each week what we wanted, whether we wanted avocados or, And do you remember the name of that service, Jeannie? It was kind of something like Ugly Food. It was
Misfit Food.
Misfits. Misfits. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, I've seen that.
Misfits is a service that's organic food, but it's not perfect. It's like that old song of "Give me spots on my apples, but leave me the birds and the bees." They've taken on, buying food that won't go on the fancy grocery store shelf because it's not perfect, but it's perfectly good and perfectly nutritious. So you might sign up for something like that for him, and every week, he could, or you could select what goes in that box, and he gets a box of food. And so he can stop complaining about the fact that he has no food to eat, and he can't abuse the money that you're giving him because he's saying he needs food. Well, send him food. there are also some different food programs that send you prepared meals. They have this, and it's all packaged out, and you put it together, assemble it yourself. There's several ways that you could handle that aspect of it, and that would move at least one factor out of the way that he can't accuse you of causing him to starve.
I wonder if just having him go to the grocery store and photocopy the receipt, and I'd pay him the money for it, and he'd pay ahead. He does have a bank account. What?
That sounds like that would be a similar. I think that would be a similar good idea, that you, when he actually spends money on food, you'd take care of it so that he's eating. But it sounds like he's also playing out of the addicted personality, and the addicted personality unfortunately will twist and turn and create every form of pressure and con and lie that exists in order to keep its addiction up. And
he just texted me and said, I want to go home. I don't know what home means, whether that's here or just to his apartment. I'm just texting back what's happening. But he has a lot of anxiety, and I think I don't know, Michael. Anyway, I don't mean to just load the show with this problem.
You're not loading the show. You're not alone in this.
Yeah, okay.
So the other thing that I would offer you could do is you could add another condition into your support of him, and that is that he starts to take some responsibility for his emotional condition and starts to do some work. Maybe, paying him a couple of dollars for every worksheet that he sends you that he does. Mm-hmm. That he actually starts to engage in some responsibility, because right now what it sounds like is you're trying to take responsibility for everything for him, and he's just, running his story. He's running his game. And unfortunately, that comes from a life where one has been abused. They'll tend to pass on the kinds of abuse that were done. The voice you heard from him when you weren't fulfilling his goals, I would offer, is probably the voice of his power person. That to him sounds like his voice speaking to you, but really it's his power person speaking through him. And while you can have compassion for that, there comes a point where he has to take some responsibility and shift that. So perhaps building a financial incentive into him doing his work. Although I've seen cases where I've tried to do that with people before, and it hasn't worked. I remember one woman that came to the opening session, introductory session of a series that I was doing. Oh, she cried, and she didn't have any money, and she wanted to do it, and she wanted to be part of it, and she wanted to do it and wanted to. And so I said, okay, well, I'll tell you what. Next week for our session, the cost is X. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but, it's like bring 10 completed worksheets to the workshop, and that will be your admission fee. I'll pay you to do worksheets. Well, after all the whining and crying and how much she wanted, she never showed up again because she had to do something to change herself. And sadly, what's been pretty well established in alcohol and drug treatment circles is that most people will manipulate until all the bridges are burned and they're left on their own, and they get to the bottom and they either wake up or, unfortunately, they die. Yeah. I don't think I love the financial incentive of doing the worksheets, but I don't think he would do that. I just don't think he's well enough to not take offense. He's well enough. He's well enough.
So?
Everything you're telling me, if he's well enough to say what he's just said to you and tell you this whole story and get you feeling like it's your fault that he isn't doing well, you're to blame, and he can justify that, he's well enough to pick up and start to act like an adult. Yes, he's carrying a heavy burden. You've told me about his power person dynamic, and that's a horrendous load. But my take is he's well enough to, start him on the children's worksheet, and he's well enough to do that. He's smart enough to do that, and he can do that. But making, when you say, gee, we're trying to do the best we can do for you, but you need to be accountable, somewhere he has to step up and be accountable. And, maybe the starting point is to start to let go of his abuse of you.
Well, Michael, you know what? I've been texting him and listening to you, and I know that's dividing my attention, but he just texted me. And he said,
Right.
I want to go home. And I said, what's happening? And he said, I just did my monologue. I said, how'd it go? He said, not great. I sent him a sad face. And then he added, I'm having so much anxiety. And I said, me too, so sorry. And he said, what are you anxious about? That's an amazing thing that he even asked. And then I said, you and us, so sorry and sad about all this. And he said, me too. So something's loosening up a little bit.
Yeah, so there's the opening to say, now, son, there is something we can do about this. You're going to do a part, and I'm going to do a part. Here's what I'm willing to do, and here's what I'm going to require of you. And see how he responds. If he wants it, and if he wants the drugs more, then he's going to do the drugs and alcohol more. Unfortunately, that's that thing of, sometimes people have to hit the bottom of the barrel, which is most unfortunate. And but you could start with the simplest worksheet. Julie's got the 7. They're on the website. The 7 children's worksheet.
Right.
Start with the first one and
Oh,
take this. Here it is, and son, you need to do some serious writing. I need to hear some serious what's going on for you on this simple little form, and you're going to start to work through this trauma.
Yeah.
And then I will send you a box of food, all, organic food. I'll set it up and I'll send it to you, and you'll have food and you'll have a way to begin your healing process. You'll take the next step toward healing. And, the power of just canceling the goal and dropping into what lies underneath it is so profound that if you can give him the incentive to do that, then, I've watched many people over the years. Say again?
By offering him the promise of food, the food box and that sort of thing?
Well, he's got incentive, but the power of getting him to start to look at the arenas in his life where he's got upset, to become aware of the goals he holds and canceling them, and dropping into the unconscious energy that's behind this pain and trauma that's running his life. The power of that is amazing. I've watched people over the years who, all kinds of different addictions, and they start doing worksheets. And, I've watched, total dyed-in-the-wool drunks just spontaneously stop drinking. Like, gee, I don't know what happened. I just quit. I've been doing these worksheets, and I don't feel like alcohol anymore. In fact, did we send you the worksheet video that we did for the book club 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Did you listen through that?
At it. No.
Oh, well, when you watch it, we did about a 2.5-hour worksheet, and this woman spontaneously at the end of the worksheet came up with, well, I'm wondering about the fact that I drink, and if drinking is part of the problem here. Out of the worksheet, there was no conversation in the worksheet about drinking, about alcohol. In the last 10 minutes or so of the session, she brought up that maybe drinking isn't so good for her, and maybe it was time for her to stop. And that was after one worksheet. And she just, out of the blue, we had no conversation about alcohol at all. And out of the blue, out of that worksheet, when she dropped into the underlying dynamic, came up with, maybe it's time for me to stop drinking. Power dropping into the unconscious mind by canceling the goal that's driving the perceptual pain, it's monumental. So even that simple, the first of 7 children's worksheets that Julie developed, start with that. And, if he's truly not eating and he wants to eat, then there's an incentive. I mean, it's simple, really simple worksheet. He doesn't have to do the 7-step and look at all the dynamics. Just that simple children's worksheet.
Mm-hmm.
Be a powerful start.
So, Michael, I'm going to ask you some very next step practical questions. He is saying he wants to quit the school. We've paid $6,000 for housing and the program, and he wants to leave and come back and stay with us. Talking to Michael, Tim's coming downstairs. And I have said, you can't come back here right now. You've got to stay in the program. It's all paid for. Don't blow it off. This is no big deal. This is a wonderful chance for you as an actor, and you were liking it well enough. Now, he may ask again, I need to come home. I'm having too much anxiety. I don't even know whether to say yes or no.
Well, when you bring a person, especially an addicted personality that is not thinking rationally, to a precipice where they have to make a choice, the consequences can be dire.
Yeah.
But you can't take responsibility for those consequences. He's setting that scenario up. And, if I were in that position, I would agree with you, and I would say, we invested in this because you wanted it, and you have to follow through. Now, one of the consequences of that might be that he might go out and create himself so much stress that he canceled the thought, ends his life.
Oh, I know, and my daughter has been talking about that. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's why I'm offering that but succumbing to his manipulations can lead to the same consequence and doesn't leave room for recovery to happen, would be my offering. So could you give him permission, if he chose to end his life, to do that? Could you, in good conscience, hold a space of love for him and say, son, if that's what you choose to do, and I'm not saying go and say this to him, but in your own mind, offer that permission and hold him accountable for what he said he wanted to do, was go and do this program, and you coughed up the money. And give him permission to do what he does, because you don't know what he's going to do, and you certainly can't take responsibility. One of the manipulations of the alcoholic and the drug-addled mind is, well, it's going to be, you'll be so sorry because of what you've done to me. Yeah. And people, parents, it's so classic. Parents, grandparents go until they're totally broken, can't do anymore. And the alcoholic, drug addict goes on and does their destructive thing anyway. You can't take responsibility for what he's going to do. Or if you try to, then he'll manipulate you right down the tubes.
Yeah. So I want to make sure
at least that's a possibility.
Straight. So I'm saying to him, stay in the program. We paid for you. We'll keep praying and loving you, but we're really rooting for you to stay in the program. And if you don't, you're going to have to figure out how to sustain yourself. Is that what you're saying? And then he may choose to not stay in the program, but he knows he can't come back here. And he might take his own life, which I've been thinking about that. My daughter even said this morning, she says, Mom, my 2 older boys may not live. And I am trying to make peace with that because they're adults and I'm trying to let them go. I pray for them. I'm doing everything I can, but I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do for those boys. She doesn't pay for anything for the older boy. Yeah, she doesn't pay for anything, and the older boy, Lukey, is very angry with her, but he understands, and he has even said, Mom, I'm so sick of getting drunk, but then he gets drunk. So,
well,
and then we have...
He's got pain that isn't, when one steps away from the pain a little bit, it's easy to say, this is not working, this is not good for me, but when the pain is up, the anesthetic becomes so... It seems like the only option. And where the real option is, start to do your work and clean up what's causing your pain.
Yeah.
But the machinations and the manipulations that come out of, making everybody else responsible for the pain and the trauma that they're in and resolving it. And the fact is, if he doesn't step up to the plate and do something, you can't resolve it. I mean, you can be the space, you can hold the space, and if you hold the space powerfully enough, you might just fall into it and bang, everything changes. But that's not the likely scenario. The most likely scenario is he's going to have to come to the point where he takes some responsibility and does some work to clean up what's going on, rather than beating up on everybody else to force them to support his habit.
Right. Well, I just asked him if he could stay through his classes till 4, and then we'll have a long talk and we'll do some strategizing. And now he's saying, I have a voice lesson at 5:30. Well, we could start the talk at 4. Okay, I can tell him that. Basically, my question for you, it's all practical stuff. If he says, I want to come home, will you let me come home to us? I'm still saying no, right? I'm saying, no, let's work a little more from where you are, and then we'll redecide.
Well, of course, that's a choice you have to make. And he's going to have to be responsible for what he does, whatever your choice is. If it were me, that's exactly what I'd be saying is, son, you said you wanted this. We invested in it, and you need to fulfill your end of the bargain. We fulfilled ours. And that would be what I would do. And I would be aware that there might be consequences for that choice. But, of course, whatever choice you make, there are going to be consequences.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it.
But I think your balanced state and your presenting with love rather than judgment, and there'd be a lot of grandparents, I put that money on you, SOB, look what I do. I mean, there's a lot of grandparents to be doing that, and I think the space you're holding and the direction you're moving is awesome. It's time for him to take some responsibility and start using the tools.
Oh, if he only would.
Well, you're the one person at this point that can put an incentive in his mind to do something in terms of cleaning up the pain that he's carrying. And I think it's pretty powerful that he can pull his power person voice out and do the abuse his power person did to him, to you, and you're not responding to it. You're, that you recognize that. And
thanks. Yeah. He's still texting. I said, let's talk at 4 then, and hang in there, Boone. Proud of you for hanging in so far. We'll get you some real relief. Now he's saying, what does that mean? Okay, what does that mean?
I'm gonna. Here's what it means. I'm going to show you how to start to handle the pain in your own mind and your anxiety, and you're going to do something about it. And in return for that, each week you're going to get a box of organic food. So you're getting what you're asking for, and you're getting some help where you're participating. For me, that would be the thing that would have the best chance of opening something more positive in his world.
Okay.
And whatever you do, the chips are going to fall where they fall. I would think that he'd have the best shot at moving forward. I mean, even if he just does one worksheet, and hopefully one will lead to another, you know. Text him or email him the simple first level children's worksheet.
Well, I just texted him based on what you said. He says, I said to him, proud of you for hanging in so far. We'll get you some real relief. And he says, what does that mean? And I write, I'm going to show you how to start handling the pain you're in, and we'll make sure you have plenty of good food. And he answered just now, okay.
Perfect. And so there's a good barter that he's going to start to do some work and you know, set up. You're going to do, well, you saw the power of doing 5 of them a day. So maybe set up that he starts out and does 2 a day for a week, and he takes a picture of them and texts it to you, or emails it to you, or physically mails it to you, and that has you invest in another box of food. So he's got good food to eat. And show him how to start to clean up his mind and make it a requirement. You know, just hanging out there and doing nothing about the trauma that's going on in your mind isn't going to benefit you. It's, you know, look at where you're at. And so here's a practical, real way to do it. And you can attest to him firsthand that, you know, you were on anxiety medication and you're not anymore because you did this. I mean, you're firsthand testimonial to him. So you know it works. You become professional at supporting people through it. And so he's got support. I mean, right there. How much better can it get for him?
You know, the best thing you said, I mean, everything you've said is so helpful, and it's just translated right into communicating with Jake right now in real time. But when you said he is not too sick for this, he is healthy enough. I had thought that he was too sick, and I'm just going to go with he's not that sick, that he can't do this.
Right. He's, you know, listening to his conversations with you, he knows what a goal is. He knows what his goals are. And when you teach him to cancel a goal, he's healthy enough to do that. That's all. He's healthy enough to do that. And, you know, who knows? It may open up some conversations about his power person and recognize that you're healthy enough to go back and, you know, when you were 5 and your power person was raging at you and you wanted a hug, you can establish in your mind that the goal that's driving your perception today is that still that desire of a 5-year-old for a hug, and you can cancel that goal and you can process that and help him to build the brain cells for moving through that. I mean, to be doing this program, to be able to memorize lines and sing, and he's bright enough, he's strong enough, he's smart enough. And he's got some challenges, and you can show him how to walk through those challenges, and it sounds like a perfect incentive for him to move forward.
That's so good, Michael. Thank you. You're an absolute lifesaver. In real time. Call into a show and get immediate help. Bingo.
Well, I think it's awesome that he just happened to start writing you in the middle of it. It's perfect. And know that we join you in holding the space for the highest and best outcome for him and for you. And, you know, I admire the space you're holding and the work you've done to be able to be that for him. What a gift. Not many people have that in their world. And
there is something to be said for thinking of the worst case scenario and allowing that possibility, it just loosens the bands around the heart enough to be able to breathe. You know, Byron Katie once said to one of her clients, you probably know this, a mother was frightened because her daughter was threatening suicide, and Byron Katie said, look, if she takes her own life, it's the most loving thing she could do for herself, considering the pain she's in. And I thought, wow, what a perspective that is. That isn't to say the mother's going to love it or anything, but it's a kind of allowing, that's all.
Definitely difficult challenges.
Right. Well, and when you came on the radio show this morning, I mean, just now, talking your monologue, now he's saying, what sort of thing are you going to show me? Worksheets? What do I say to that, Michael?
Said, we'll talk about it at 4 o'clock. And tell him that you're going to show him exactly how to do what you did to handle your anxiety. Anxiety that was severe enough that you needed medication at the time and don't anymore.
Yeah.
And be the testimonial that this works and this is how you're going to buy your food now. You're going to turn these worksheets into me and it's going to turn into food for you. And then you're not getting conned. Well, when somebody says, I'm not using your money for alcohol and drugs, and they're buying alcohol and drugs, well, let's see now, which dollar is, which pocket did the money come out of? Of course, he's using your food for drugs and alcohol.
Right. I mean, it's crazy.
If he doesn't have enough, you're sending him money for food and he doesn't have enough to eat, of course he's using your money for drugs and alcohol. I mean, that's just silly manipulation to say, I'm not using your IC, I use my own.
Yeah, I know. Well, so he says, what sort of thing
there's something to be said for, there's just another thought, there's something to be said for calling him up to a higher level and knowing that he's capable of that, as opposed to kowtowing to weakness.
Yeah, that's totally true. You mentioned that a while back, talking to him about integrity. I never had that talk with him. It just wasn't going to fit right then, but I think it might fit now.
Yeah.
He says, what sort of thing are you going to show me?
I'd say, I'm going to show you how to do exactly what worked for me to handle exactly the same trauma.
Yeah. What sort of thing are you going to show me? Worksheets? Are you still sending me my allowance? And I said, we'll talk at 4 p.m. Allowance? Yes. So that's, maybe I shouldn't have said yes. I should have said maybe. That'll just buy us some time and we'll get through the day. Holy crap.
Well, we'll be holding the space.
Thanks.
And know that you'll be guided to say exactly the right words to help him to open up to the next level.
I hope so. I do know they helped Lukey, and Lukey isn't using them anymore, and I don't know if that's a good pitch to give to Jacob because Lukey is not doing very well. Maybe I won't do that. Yeah, okay. I'll just tell him how I've been helped by it.
Yeah, you've got a perfect testimonial. I mean, you've got had exactly the same thing going on. And you were using drugs to ameliorate it, and you've been able to stop because you've worked through it. He can do the same. Yours were legal, his are illegal, but there were drugs all the same.
Yep. Oh, man.
All right, young lady, well, we're down to the last minute. We'll be holding the space, and keep us posted.
Thank you so much.
All right, love and blessings. Take care. Bye-bye.